All right, this is Module 15. We're going to talk about selecting a good sample. So as you learned in lesson 14 from yesterday, sampling is a central concept in statistics. Examining every element in a population is usually impossible. That's why we take samples. So research and articles in the media typically refer to a sample from a population. In this lesson, you will begin to think about how do we choose a sample. So yesterday we learned about what a sample is. Today we're going to learn about how to choose it. So a sample that accurately represents the entire population. We call this an unbiased sample. That means it represents everybody in the entire population. A sample that has one or more parts of the population that are favored over others would be considered biased. Now, let's do some examples of this. Let's look into a TV programming manager wants to conduct a survey to determine which reality television show is the favorite of viewers in a certain viewing area. He is considering the 3 samples shown below. Let's draw an X through the 2 samples that would not fairly represent all of the people in the viewing area. So sample 1, if we survey only people that are trying out for a certain reality show, would that be an unbiased sample? Well, if they're trying out for that reality show, my guess is that that is their favorite one. So that would not be good. That would be a biased sample. How about people at my middle school or our middle school? Now, if you're only talking about middle school people, what about the adults? What about the younger kids watching these reality shows? My guess is that is not going to represent all viewers. So that is not a good sample. Now, if you go to a shopping mall, everybody has a chance to go to a shopping mall. So this would be considered the unbiased choice to just survey every 100th person in the mall. All right, let's continue with this idea. Let's go down to the bottom and we're going to determine if each is a valid conclusion. So we're going to take that idea of being biased or unbiased, whether everybody has a chance of being selected. So a random sample of 50 middle school students shows that 10 students prefer listening to rock, 15 students prefer listening to hip hop, and 25 students prefer no music while they exercise. So it can be concluded that half the students prefer no music while they exercise. So is this a valid conclusion? Well, I underlined random sample because that means that every student had a chance of being picked. So therefore, this would be a valid conclusion. So we could say valid conclusion. And that's because every student has a chance of being selected. That's because it is a random sample. All right, let's go to the next example, next page. This time it says that the radio station asks its listeners to indicate their preference for one of 2 candidates in an upcoming election. 72% of the listeners who responded preferred candidate A. So the radio station announced that candidate A would win the election. Now, this is not a valid conclusion because does everybody listen to the same radio station? No, which means not everybody has a chance to call in and voice their opinion. So not everyone listens to that radio station. So that means not everybody has a chance of being selected to voice their opinion. Now, we're going to apply this to do a little activity during class about the length of words in the poem Casey at Bat. So, question 1, suppose you wanted to learn about the lengths of the words in the poem Casey at Bat. Now, everybody on their table should have a copy of this poem. I'm just going to show you right now. This is Casey at Bat. Okay, you should have a copy of this right on your desk. You plan to select a sample of 8 words from the poem and use the words to answer the following statistical question. Our question is, on average, how long is the word in the poem? So, what is the population we're working with here? Population means all of them. So we're talking about all words in the poem. Now, just what we talked about yesterday, if we were finding the average length of words for every word in that poem, that means we'd have to add up all the number of letters in each word, find the average, which is a lot of work. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take a sample. So number 2 says, look at the poem, Casey at Bat by Ernest Thayer, and select 8 words that you would think are representative of words in the poem. Record the number of letters in each word you selected and describe the sample that you have collected. Now, before I let you do this, what you're going to do is you are going to work with a partner. You are going to select 8 words that you see in that poem, and then you're going to tell me how many letters are in that word. So I'm going to just give you an example. If I see the word there, T-H-E-R-E, that has 5 letters. You're going to do that 8 times. Once you've done that 8 times, I'd like you to find the mean of those letters, meaning you're going to add them all up and you're going to divide by 8 since there are 8 words. Okay, so you're going to do that. Select 8 words with a partner and you're going to find the mean. So go ahead and pause this video now so they have time to work on that. All right, number 3. So a random sample is a sample in which every possible sample of the same size has an equal chance of being chosen. That's what we keep talking about, being unbiased. So do you think that the set of words that you wrote down was random? Now, doing this in the past, a lot of people would be like, yeah, I randomly chose every single word out of that poem. Every word had a chance of being picked. But did they have an equally likely chance of being picked? I'm going to say, yeah, possibly. But knowing some of how our brain works, sometimes people could be choosing just the short words. Some of you may just have chosen the really long words. So yeah, possibly they could have been random. But my guess is that your brain kind of went towards certain words. So we could write just maybe not. All right, go ahead and flip over to the next page. Number 4. Now I'm going to have you do the selection of 8 words a little bit differently. So please listen to the directions because this may be kind of confusing. Okay, we're going to, on your desk, you also have 2 baggies, one with orange numbers and one with pink numbers. I'm going to show you what these are for. So everybody has a copy of the poem. We have bag containing 1 through 29. I want you just to write that this is the pink colored numbers. And the bag that's 1 through 20 is your orange numbers. All right, step 1 says we're going to draw a number from the first bag, okay? The first bag would be your pink. Then you're going to draw a number from the second bag. That's going to be your orange. So you're going to have 1 of each color. And I'm going to show you how to identify what that word actually is. So we're going to go down to the chart. Once again, group number is your pink numbers. Word number is your orange numbers. Now, I'm going to do this just so you can see an example of it. I do not want you to write this down because I want you to come up with 8 words on your own. Okay, I don't want you to use mine. So I'm selecting a number out of the bag. So the first number I got was 28. And let me open up the orange. So the orange number I got was 1. So I'm going to do 28 and 1. Okay, so the first number tells you what group you are in. So I'm going to show you this poem again. I know, let me take it out of the plastic. Okay, that's a little bit easier to see. So each of those numbers in the brackets, that's your group number. So since I'm at 28, I believe I have to turn over to the back. I'm going to find group 28. Now, the orange number is your word number. So since I got number 1, I'm choosing the first number in that group. So that would be the word in. So I'm going to write that down. And the number of letters in that word is 2. Now, you're going to continue this. You're going to put the numbers back in the bag every time you pick, because you want the chances to be equally likely. Okay, and then you're going to do it again. So I'm just going to show you again. Don't write this down. I'm going to pick 1 of each. I have 19 for my orange. I have 25 for my pink. So pink is 25. I don't write this down. Orange is 19. So let me get my my poem. So my pink group, I got to go to the back, is 25, group 25, and word 19. So I'm going to start at new, that would be 1, and I'm going to count to 19. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that word is teeth. And that has 5 letters. So you're going to continue this for 8 different letters, or I'm sorry, 8 different words, okay? And then you're going to go to the next page, and you're going to answer question A, which is just recording the 8 words. You do not need to rewrite the words. They're already in the chart. But what I would like you to do is find the mean for letter A, describing the sample, okay? Pause the video now, work up to A. When you hit play again, I will go over starting at part B. So go ahead and pause this video, pick all of your numbers out of the bag. You are going to be working with a partner. All right. So now we are on part B. We already found the mean for part A. Now compare the 2 samples from questions 2 and question 4. Question 2 was when you picked the words on your own. Question 4 was the way that we just picked the words. Now, we already talked about how question 2, when you picked them on your own, that could have been biased based on how you picked the words, right? So question 2 may have been biased based on how you picked the words. Well, what about question 4? That's the one that we just did with the picking the numbers out of a bag. Did every word have a chance of being picked? Much more so, right, than the question 2. So question 4, we're just going to write every word had an equal chance of being selected. Now, question 5, the actual mean. So somebody actually went and found the mean of every single word in the poem. That was 4.2. This is called your population mean. That's because it's the mean of the whole poem. What we were finding before was sample means because it was a mean of just a sample. Now, compare the samples from questions 2 and 4 to the population mean. Now, I can't do that because everybody in the room is going to have different answers, but I want you to take a look. How did your mean for question 2 compare to your mean for question 4? Was one of them a better more accurate sample of the population? My guess is that most of you had a better estimate when you did the random sample where every word had a chance of being picked out of the bag. I want you to fill in question 5, which with the observations that you are making about questions 2 and 4. All right, question 6, state why random sampling is so important. So let's basically wrap this up. Why is random sample so important? And the one thing that you're going to hear me say a whole lot, if you haven't already, is that every word, in this case it's word, but anything that you're trying to survey, needs to have an equal chance of being selected. That's the major point to this lesson. When you do the homework, you're going to see that you're either telling me, yes, it's a good sample, or no, it's not, and why. And your reasoning is basically going to be, does it have an equally likely chance of being selected, or does it not have an equally likely chance of being selected? Now, the next page starts your homework. Go ahead and get started on that and finish that up. I'm going to check that in class tomorrow.